Too often at times we believe other people and people in other nations think, act, and are motivated by the same ideals, values, and principles as Americans. In this speech, Russ will present an argument that the premise of the, quote, golden rule only applies where ideologies have consistencies of value. The title of Russ' speech today is The Wit of Diverse Ideologies. The Wit of Diverse Ideologies, Russ Farmer.
Nazis of Germany, the Khmer Rouge of Cambodia, Al-Qaeda, or Al-Qaeda, depends upon whether you're from the East or the West, of the Middle East, ISIS of the Middle East, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Osama bin Laden, Nidal Hassan, Charles Manson, Jim Jones, Jonestown, Bay, Tim McVeigh, Oklahoma City, Dylan Klebold, Columbine High School, Mother Teresa, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher. That is a list of a group of people and individuals, all with incredibly diverse ideologies. Some of them place no value at all on life. Some of them, if you belong to their group, place value on life. Otherwise, you're of no value. And there are those that place life at a supreme level regardless of health, background, poverty, or any other aspect. The golden rule only applies where there is consistent and compatible ideology. Can you imagine kneeling down, hands tied behind your back, big brute in black standing next to you with a large knife getting ready to chop off your head? And you're sitting there, kneeling there. I was just walking down the street. I wouldn't have tried to cut your head off. You're gone. Incompatible ideologies. When we talk about foreign policy, we talk about countries, we talk about corporations, we personify them as though they are people. Apple just announced today, Boeing just announced today, the Russians just announced today they're going to put a man on Mars. The Russian country never says anything. Boeing never says anything. Apple never says anything. They don't talk. They can't talk. They're not humans. We personify them. It is leaders within those organizations who make those decisions. It is leaders in those countries who establish their ideologies, their value system. Our foreign policy must recognize, must study, and must understand the ideologies and the values of leaders in those countries. Countries are primarily populated by sheeple. The vast majority, whether it's in the United States or any other country, these sheeple follow the leader. Wherever the leader goes, they follow. They have no responsibility. They take on no responsibility. They're just part of the masses. You can see this over and over again, whether it's at Ferguson, whether it's riots in New York City, whereabouts it is. There's a leadership group, and then there's a vast group of sheeple that follow for the excitement of it. It's a story about a scorpion and a frog. I don't know whether you've heard this story, but you're going to hear it again. Scorpion and the frog were sitting on one side of a river, and the scorpion wanted to get on the other side. And he told the frog, can I climb on your back and you can swim across to the other side? And the frog says, no, you'll sting me. The scorpion says, no, I won't. No, I want to get to the other side. They finally talked the frog into taking him to the other side, and the scorpion climbed on his back, and about halfway across the river, the scorpion reached down and stung the frog. The frog said, what the hell are you doing, man? You're going to kill us both. The scorpion says, that's what scorpions do. Okay. That's what ideologues do. It's part of their ideology and their values. As part of our foreign policy, we must first acknowledge, recognize the leadership of those countries and establish our foreign policy based upon the leadership, based upon the ideologies, based upon the values of those leaders. Second point I'd like to make. This comes out of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. Habit number 2. Begin with the end in mind. As a Vietnam veteran, I spent a year at Phan Rang Air Force Base. We stood there with binoculars, watching on this mountain about 7 kilometers away from the base. Trees were being cleared by Charlie. They were mounting mortars up there. We kept watching. Then one night, all hell broke loose. We heard this. Blew hell out of the flight line. It was only then that we were allowed to send up the Korean troops, the ROKs as we call them. They went up and took care of Charlie. But we knew all along this was happening. Their ideology, their values was such they were going to wipe us out. But we, as Americans, we as military personnel, we as the United States of America had no idea what we were going to do, what the end game was. It was never communicated because we didn't understand it. And you could reflect on that in Desert Storm. You can reflect on that in the war in Iraq. You can reflect on that in the war in Afghanistan. We don't have an end game. We do not know. And too oftentimes our foreign policy establishes a direction without any goal in mind. In the words of Peter, Paul, and Mary, when will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? More properly, when will we ever learn? Mr. President.